Maha-Satipatthana Sutta, Dhamma Nupassana, Nivarana Baba. Whatever you are doing, you will find that you have some kinds of obstacle or hindrances to overcome. Hindrances are negative factors of our meditation. Hindrances hinder or obstruct the gaining of concentration. There are 5 hindrances: Kamachanda Nivarana, sense desire; Vyavara Nivarana, ill will; Tinamida Nivarana, sloth and torpor; Odija Guguja Nivarana, restlessness and remorse; Vijigaja Nivarana, doubt. So the second hindrance is Vyavada. Today we go to Vyavada. Vyavada means ill will. Ill will here means resentment, anger, hatred, and also fear, anxiety, tension, frustration, and impatience. So regarding this, Buddha said, Santam va ijatam vyavadan. Atime ijatam vyavadodi pajanati at santam ijatam vyavadan. Natime ijatam vyavadodi pajanati. When a will is present in him, he knows there is a will in me, or when a will is absent in him, he knows there is no a will in me. Here again, we have 2 kinds of reflection, manasikara. When you have ayoniso manasikara, unwise reflection, you will have a will. When you have yoniso manasikara, wise reflection, you will experience the absence of a will. During our practice of meditation, anger or resentment may often arise in us. Meditators may be angry with themselves, or they may be upset because somebody makes a noise. So they cannot concentrate. Soon they will be restless or become angry. So when such anger or ill will arises, sometimes you will think of someone with whom you have quarreled and towards whom you feel resentment. So when these different kinds of emotion arise in you, you must become aware of the presence of anger and note, I have anger, or just note anger, anger, anger. Whatever mental state arises, you need to note as it really is. Anger arises, note anger, anger, anger. And when you notice resentment and ill will, then you note ill will, ill will, ill will. And you may notice hatred and sometimes fear, sometimes discourage. Then you note fear, fear, fear. Discourage, discourage, discourage. Because you are noticing anger and you are noticing it 3 or 4 times, the anger or the ill will disappear. When it has disappeared, you must be aware of its disappearance and note there is no anger in me anymore, and so on. And Buddha said, Yata cha anupanasa vyavadasa upadahoti tincha pajanati. He also knows the reason by which the arising of non-arisen ill will comes to be. Here, the practitioner exercises wise reflection. You know, everything is impermanent. The objects of ill will, somebody or anybody, the objects of ill will are also impermanent. And when you wisely reflect on their impermanence, you cannot be angry about them. But when you reflect unwisely, then you will experience ill will and anger towards these objects. So sometimes during meditation, you may notice, I have this ill will because I reflect wrongly. I have an unwise attitude towards things. I have wrong views of things. When you are aware of this, you are said to be aware of the cause of the arising of ill will. And Buddha said, Yatacha upanasa vyavado bahana hoti tinja bhajanati. He also knows why the abandoning of arisen ill will comes to be. When you experience ill will and you take note of it, you will also observe it disappear. When it has disappeared, you become aware of its disappearance. You know that it has disappeared because you took note of ill will. Also, when you reflect wisely, especially on metta, loving kindness, ill will leave you. So wise reflections are the cause of the disappearance of ill will. Outside of vipassana meditation, there are also 6 ways you can practice to abandon ill will. The first to learn is taking up loving kindness meditation, metta bhavana, sending out thoughts of love, radiations of love, thoughts of goodwill towards all beings. And the second is to practice loving kindness meditation until you reach the jhana stage. When you reach the state of jhana, you will be able to abandon ill will. The third is to reflect on karma as your own property. Sabbi satta kammasaka. Karma as your own properties. To reflect on your own karma as your own property is important for many reasons. When you are angry, you can say to yourself, who am I angry with? You are reborn on this earth as a result of the karma you have accumulated in the past. You will also be reborn hereafter according to the karma you accumulate in this life. So we all beings are born and die according to our karma. And since it is according to our karma that beings are reborn and die, there is no reason for us to be angry with anybody. A person who is angry is like a person who wants to strike somebody else. Such person want to take up a red hot iron to strike, or the person pick up filth to throw at somebody else. So we should reflect on our own karma as being our responsibility. We all shape our own life according to our own karma. And the fourth way is by reflection on karma being our own properties and property of other person as well. Or extensive contemplation on good things about loving kindness, metta, and bad things about ill will. This means trying to see the advantages of loving kindness and the disadvantages of anger, ill will, and hatred. By recognizing what is good and seeing the advantages of loving kindness as well as the disadvantages of ill will, you will be able to abandon hatred, ill will, and anger. And the fifth way is having a good friend, having a Kalyana Mitta. A good friend is always a condition, or a good friend is always a cause for abandoning akusala thoughts, unwholesome thoughts, that in this case are a will. People who are full of love can influence other people to be full of love too. So when you associate with the friends, when you associate with the person who had abundant loving kindness, then you will be able to abandon ill will and anger, taking your friend as an example. And the sixth way is suitable talk. Talk about loving kindness meditation. Talk about the advantages of loving kindness and the disadvantages of ill will and anger. This will help to abandon ill will. Then Buddha said, Yata cha upanasa vyavadasa bahana hodi tinja bhajanati Yata cha bhinasa vyavadasa ayate nupado hodi tinja bhajanati. He also knows why the abandoning of arisen ill will comes to be, and he knows the reason by which not arising in the future of abandoned ill will comes to be. So this statement also pertains to the moment when you attain Megacita path consciousness. When you reach a third stage of sainthood, when you become anagami, you abandon ill will altogether. So Kamechanda Nivarana, Vyavara Nivarana, then number 3, Tina Meda Nivarana, sloth and trouble, which is simply sleepiness. Sleepiness may come to us every now and then. We all have experienced this sloth and trouble during our meditation. And Buddha said, Santanwa ijatan tinamedan atime ijatan tinamedan dipajanati asantanwa ijatan tinamedan natime ijatan tinamedan dipajanati. When sloth and trouble are present in him, he knows there are sloth and trouble in me, or when sloth and trouble are absent in him, he knows there are no sloth and trouble left in me. When you feel sleepy, you must be alerted to your sleepiness and take note of it. Often just by taking note, you are able to abandon or you are able to drive away sleepiness, sloth and trouble. When sloth and trouble disappear, you are also aware of their disappearance. Then you know that there is no sloth and trouble left in me. They have disappeared. And Buddha said, he also knows the reason by which the arising of non-arisen sloth and trouble comes to be. Here again, the unwise reflection on the states of boredom, lethargy, and sluggishness of the mind are the causes of sloth and trouble. Ayoniso manasikara, unwise reflection means you think that there is no harm in boredom, lethargy, and sluggishness, and so on. However, by wise reflection and through correct attitude towards the exertions of effort, you can abandon sloth and torpor, sleepiness altogether. So when you are sleepy, you can do two things. One is to take note of your sleepiness, sleepy, sleepy, sleepy. And the other is to step up your energy, to put in more effort or to pay more attention to the object of your meditation. By way of effort, sloth and torpor can be abandoned. When sloth and torpor are abandoned, when they are absent, you know that they are absent, or you know that they have been abandoned. And Buddha said, Yatacha nupanasa tina vedasa upado hoti tinja bhajanati. Yatacha upanasa tina vedasa bhana hoti tinja bhajanati. Yatacha vinasa tina vedasa ayate nupado hoti tinja bhajanati. He also knows the reason by which the arising of non-arisen sloth and torpor comes to be. He also knows the reason why the abandoning of arisen sloth and torpor comes to be. And he also knows the reason by which non-arising in the future of the abandoned sloth and torpor comes to be. Sloth and torpor are eradicated altogether in attaining the final stage of sainthood. They can be eradicated when you become Arahant. When you become Arahant, only then you will abandon sloth and torpor altogether. You are aware that sloth and torpor have been eradicated because you have truly attained the last stage of sainthood, Arahant. And there are also six ways that lead to the temporary abandoning of sloth and torpor. The first one is seeing the cause of sloth and torpor in eating too much. That means you must know that when you eat too much, you will feel sleepy. Then the stomach is full, it needs more blood, and the blood which would have gone to the brain will go to your stomach. And then you will feel dizzy or you will feel sleepy. When you know this, you will practice moderation in eating. And then you will be able to abandon sloth and torpor. And second way is changing your postures. Yeah, according to the schedule, 1 hour sitting or 1 hour walking is very suitable. When you feel sleepy while you are sitting, you may change that postures. You may stand up and practice standing meditation, or you may walk up and down. So when you change your postures, you will drive away your sloth and torpor and sleepiness. Your schedule is 1 hour sitting, 1 hour walking is suitable for you to drive away your sleepiness. The third way is reflecting on the perceptions of light. You try to see light in your mind, the light of the sun, the light of the moon, starlight or electric light, and so on. Reflecting on the perception of light helps you to abandon your sleepiness. You just close your eyes and try to see light and think of things that are bright. This way, you may be able to abandon sloth and torpor. The fourth way is stay in the open. You may feel sleepy while being in a house. Then you may go outside and sit under a tree, or you may sit somewhere outside. Then you will be able to abandon sleepiness. And the fifth way is having a good friends. Your friends who is not fond of sleeping, your friend who is not given to too much sleepiness. When you associate with a person, when you associate with a yogi who is energetic, who does not feel sleepy all the time, very amazing, non-stop practicing, sleeping just 4 hours, then you may be able to abandon sloth and torpor and sleepiness. Here, all yogis are very energetic and non-stop practicing. It is very inspiring. And the sixth way is choosing suitable talk. You recognize the disadvantages of sleepiness and the advantages of keeping yourself awake. In the Sutta, you find more reference and more advice to counter sleepiness. You know very well Venerable Maha. Venerable Maha was one of the two chief disciples of the Buddha. He was the most developed in the field of psychic power. Before he reached Arahanthood, while he was practicing meditation diligently, he was overcome by sleepiness. He just nodded and nodded. Moggallana could not keep his mind on the object of his meditation. And Buddha knew this through his supernatural powers. So Buddha showed himself to Moggallana and advised him how to fight sleepiness. It is mentioned in the Sutta of the Anguttara Nikaya, the book of the gradual saying. The Buddha asks Moggallana, Moggallana, are you nodding? Are you nodding, Moggallana? Buddha asked. And Moggallana replied, yes, I'm sleepy. Then Buddha said, well, Moggallana, whatever thoughts of drowsiness befall you, you should not pay any attention to such discouraging thoughts. You should not dwell on such discouraging thoughts. By doing so, it will be possible that your drowsiness will vanish. So when you think of something that causes sleepiness, you should avoid these discouraging thoughts. This is advice number 1. You must be always energized, not discouraged. Yogi must be always energized, encouraged, not discouraged. And the second is, if by doing so drowsiness does not vanish, then you should reflect upon the teaching that you have heard and learned. You should ponder over this teaching and examine them closely in your mind. By doing so, it is possible that your drowsiness will vanish. That means you should think of the Dhamma. You have learned and think of the Dhamma you have heard about. Ikayano ayam bhikkhve mekho sattana visodiya, etc. Ita bhikkhve bhikkhu kaya kaya nupasi viharati. The Dhamma you have learned and think of the Dhamma you have heard about. That means you develop some kinds of curiosity about the Dhamma or have some reflection on the Dhamma. And when you ponder over the Dhamma, Izmi is closely in your mind, you will become alert again, and you will be able to drive away your sleepiness and drowsiness. Buddha said. When by doing so, drowsiness won't vanish, the third way is to repeat in detail the teaching you have had and learned. That means you will recite them. When you have learned something by heart, you recite it. Sabbe satta, sabbe panna, awira hontu, abhyapicha hontu, anika hontu, sukhi attanam pariharantu. You have learned something by heart. You recite it. Through the recitation of whatever you have learned, you may be able to drive away your sleepiness. When by doing so, your drowsiness does not vanish, the fourth way of removing it is to pull both earlobes with your hands and to rub your limbs with your hands. You pull your earlobes and rub your limbs to become alert. By doing so, it is possible that your drowsiness may vanish. When by doing so, drowsiness state does not vanish, another way is to get up from your seat and wash your eyes with water, with cold water. You should look around in all directions. By doing so, it is possible that your drowsiness may vanish. When by doing so, drowsiness does not vanish, the sick way is to pay attention to the perception of light, the perceptions of daylight, and as by day, so by night, as by night, so by day. That means even when it is night, you think of it as by day and think of it as light. By doing so, you may be able to drive away your sleepiness. Thus, with your mind clear and unclouded, you can cultivate your mind and fill it with brightness. By doing so, it is possible that your drowsiness will vanish. When by doing so, drowsiness does not vanish, and then when your senses are turned inward, your mind not straying outside, your mind not straying outward. Another way is to walk up and down. So when you feel sleepy, you get up and do walking meditation. Being aware of going back and forth, you take note of your steps and different stages of your step. By walking up and down and being aware of going back and forth, you can drive away your sleepiness. It is possible that your drowsiness may vanish. When by doing in this way, your drowsiness does not vanish, you may lie down, lying like. This means on your right side, placing one foot on the other, clearly aware of what you are doing, and sleeping in mind, the thoughts of rising. You say, I will wake up at such and such a time in the early morning. So when you want to wake up in the morning without an alarm, you make a decision before you go to sleep. I will wake up in the morning early. When you have something to do in the morning, which is really important, you will wake up at the right time. Because you have made up your mind that you will wake up at that time. You really do wake up at the time, keeping in mind keeping the mind the thoughts of rising. That means making up your mind to wake up in the morning at a certain time. When waking up, you should get up quickly no snooze alarm. The moment you hear the alarm, you must get up, reflecting, I must not indulge in the comfort of resting and reclining. That is the pressure of sleeping. Thus, you may be able to drive away your drowsiness and sleepiness. So there are 7 methods to deal with sleepiness. The last one, lying down, lying like, is just graceful surrender to sleepiness. One of these 7 methods will be the right one for meditators. So we have 5 hindrances to encounter. Then Uddhacca, Gogoja and Nivarana, restlessness and worry and doubt. We will continue next time. We have to stop our discourse for today. By practicing Vipassana meditation, by overcoming 5 mental hindrances, Kamechana, Nivarana, Vyavara, Tinamida, Uddhacca, Gogoja and Viciketa Nivarana, by observing every phenomena occurring at the 6 senses, by noting rising, falling, sitting, stretching, bending, seeing, hearing, etc. continuously and meticulously. May all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future.